Bloodline, the last daughter. After my warrior clan bled out for the empire, the empress took the sole Yi survivor, me, as her porcelain doll. She placed me in the crown prince's bedchamber, whispering, "Serve him, and you'll wear my crown someday." When he took my innocence on ink-stained scrolls, her promise crystallized, "At your majority, you'll be his wife." So when the warriors stole his gaze, I clawed for his favor with poisoned grace. His verdict shattered my gilded cage. "You reek of harem pettiness, not a drop of ye valor left." On the execution dais, I finally heard the empress design unfold. I needed her claws clipped, a tiger cub bred to be his bedwarmer. Dangled marriage to blind her to my sons. Extracurricular tastes. Raised on harem scheming? Of course her world shrank to pillow wars. A general's heir reduced to sniffing after men? The Yi name drowns in her shame. The truth struck like a blade between ribs. She'd sculpted a warrior's daughter into her son's desperate whore. Then, scent of sandalwood and sweat. His fingers tore at my robes, pinning me beneath ink and arrogance. As time bled backwards. Welcome to my channel. If you like this story, please click to subscribe. There are more wonderful stories waiting for you to listen to. Chapter 1. A layer of sheer fabric covered my eyes, blurring my vision. The crown prince teased my chin with a wicked smile. "Don't move. The assassin is about to strike." He licked the rouge from my lips. In my previous life, Prince Shaoqi had drugged my tea, blindfolded me with a light veil, and, for his own amusement, disguised himself as an assassin to force himself on me in the study while I was blindfolded. The moment I was reborn, it was precisely when Shaoqi was most addicted to his seduction. One of his hands tore open my collar, while the other slid down my cheek like a snake, all the way to my neck. My throat tightened suddenly, and the pain of being strangled to death by white silk in my previous life was still fresh in my mind. My name is Yi Suyao. My father is Yi Wu, the Grand Marshal of the 5 armies. And my mother is Su Yu, a heroic woman who defended the borders. My eldest brother has great merits for suppressing bandits and restoring justice. And my second brother once saved the emperor in the hunting grounds. Going back 3 generations, the Yi family were all generals who had defended the nation. By my father's generation, he had accumulated so many merits that he was nearly second only to the emperor, standing above everyone else. As the only daughter of the Yi family, I should have been the pampered princess, showered with love and attention. But when I was 10, my parents, my 2 older brothers, and the entire Yi family army of 50,000 were all killed in the Battle of Longyuan at the border. In that battle, the entire Yi family perished for the country. The bodies of the Yi family soldiers piled up like mountains, forming a wall of flesh and blood on the banks of the Longyuan River, shaking the northern barbarians into retreating 3 miles. And they dared not attack again for years. That year, the Yi family was showered with posthumous honors from the imperial court, with edicts arriving one after another. Yet the only one to receive them was I, the sole surviving heir of the Yi family. Dressed in mourning robes, I knelt at the gate of the Yi mansion as a eunuch read the imperial edict. My father was posthumously granted the title of prince of a different surname. My mother was posthumously granted the title of lady of the first rank. And my 2 elder brothers were all posthumously granted the title of marquis. Emperors are always extremely generous when posthumously honoring the dead, as no matter how high their official rank, they pose no threat to anyone's interests. As the sole surviving heir, I was posthumously honored as Princess Changjing and adopted into the palace by Empress Zhao. The world pitied me for my tragic fate, with all my blood relatives dead. The world also envied me for my good fortune, being granted the title of princess and enjoying imperial support. When I first entered the palace, Empress Zhao indeed treated me like her own daughter. When I would hide under the covers at night, crying secretly out of longing for my family, it was Empress Zhao who would carry me into her chambers, pat my back, and sing me to sleep with a voice as gentle as a mother's. The emperor sent messengers daily to inquire after me, bestowing clothes and food, as if he were my father. The young crown prince Shaoqi, who was my age, often brought me new toys to amuse me, patting his chest and saying, "In the future, this crown prince will be your older brother. Call me royal brother and let me hear it." As a 10-year-old orphan, I was so cherished and loved by the empress and the crown prince at the pinnacle of power that I gradually emerged from the shadow of my family's destruction and began to accept my new life. In the 6th month of my time in the palace, Empress Zhao pulled me aside and asked if I would be willing to go to the young prince's side. "You will be his companion, study with him, and learn together until you both achieve success." When my parents were alive, they sent me to a private school for girls at the age of 6. My mother taught me that a woman should read and understand the world so that she can take control of her own destiny. I gladly accepted the empress's proposal. The empress treated me kindly, and I wanted to repay her. I picked up the small wooden sword my brother had left me and performed a sword dance on the spot. "Empress, rest assured, if anyone dares to bully the crown prince, I will protect him with this small wooden sword." Empress Zhao smiled faintly. "This is the palace. Who dares to bully the crown prince? You are a woman. Wielding a sword is too crude, and it is not allowed in the palace." She reached out silently to take the wooden sword from my hands. But I did not let go. "Your Majesty, this is the wooden sword my elder brother gave me. It won't hurt anyone." Empress Zhao's expression shifted subtly, and I suddenly realized she seemed displeased, a keen intuition born of living under someone else's roof. I held the small wooden sword in both hands and reluctantly handed it over. Empress Zhao's eyes finally softened with a smile. She took the wooden sword, stroked my head, and said, "From now on, you will wash the brushes and grind the ink for the young prince. Focus on cultivating your character." At first, when I started at the Imperial Academy, I could sit next to the crown prince. Later, when the crown prince practiced calligraphy, the teacher had me stand up to attend to his brush and ink. Not long after, the empress called me over again, saying I had behaved very well during my reading sessions and asked if I was willing to serve the crown prince closely. I blinked in confusion. What does serve closely mean? It means living and eating with the young prince. Whatever he does, you accompany him and assist him. Do you like the young prince? I thought about it. Though the prince was mischievous, he had comforted me when I was at my saddest, and he was my first friend after becoming an orphan. I nodded. Of course I like him. Empress Zhao said, "If you like him, go to his side." So I followed the prince everywhere, doing whatever he did. When he entered the imperial study to be questioned by the emperor about his studies, I waited obediently outside the hall. When he was scolded by the emperor for neglecting his studies, I took his place and knelt in punishment. When he ate, I had to taste all the dishes first to ensure no one had poisoned them and that they suited the prince's taste. When he was ill, I tended to him by his bedside, helping him take medicine and washing his body. Every day, the first thing I did was to check on the crown prince. This went on for 3 years. One spring day, Shaoqi blocked me in the study with my eyes covered. He held my face in his hands, admiring my features. "What lip balm did you use today? You look so vibrant, like a cherry on a tree." As Shaoqi spoke, he pressed me against the desk and kissed my lips. At 10 years old, I had lost my mother and no one had ever taught me such things. When he entered me, I instinctively tried to resist, but Shaoqi grabbed my hands and pinned them behind my head. When I felt pain, I struggled in confusion, but Shaoqi used his legs to pin my lower body. When it was finally over, I was so terrified I wanted to die. Shaoqi then removed the light veil covering my eyes and laughed cruelly at my disheveled and frightened state. That day was my coming-of-age ceremony, and the only ritual was being forcibly deflowered by the crown prince in his study while I was in a state of extreme fear. This incident alarmed Empress Zhao, who specially inquired about me. She is just a young boy, full of mischief. But do you like the crown prince? I had no idea what like meant. But I knew that after becoming an orphan, my life had been completely consumed by the crown prince. At this point, I nodded blankly, like. Empress Zhao smiled, being loved by someone and doing such things is perfectly normal. Once you grow older, I will arrange for the crown prince to marry you, making you his legitimate crown princess. Thereafter, the empress frequently demanded that I behave like a proper crown princess, emphasizing the importance of being well-read, virtuous, and gentle, to be worthy of the crown prince. I complied with everything she asked. Later, the Western Xia invaded the border, and the crown prince had to lead the troops into battle. Before departing, the crown prince embraced me and declared his feelings, the battlefield is perilous. If I return alive, I will marry you. But now the troops are exhausted and the Western Xia are fierce and barbaric. I fear that this may be our final farewell. At that moment, my heart and mind were filled with him. Hearing him describe the dire situation, I grew anxious, Your Highness. I don't want anything to happen to you. How can I help you? Let me go with you to the battlefield. Shao Qi said tenderly. You are the descendant of loyal and heroic ancestors, you should be pampered in the palace. How can you risk your life on the frontier? I sensed something was off about his words, but I couldn't pinpoint what it was. After all, Shao Qi seemed to genuinely care about me. Shao Qi suddenly said, if Io truly wants to help me, why not give me the Jade Tiger Amulet? The Jade Tiger Amulet was a token my parents gave me before they went to war. The Yi family originated from a martial arts clan in the Jianghu, and it wasn't until my maternal grandfather's generation that they entered the imperial court as officials. By my father's generation, the Yi family had become a pillar of the military elite. Over generations, the majority of power in both the imperial court and the martial arts world recognized only the Yi family's Jade Tiger Amulet. Whoever held the Jade Tiger Amulet could command at least 150,000 troops, most of whom were elite warriors from various martial arts factions, each worth 10 men. They were scattered throughout the court and the country, waiting for a call to unite as one sword. The Jade Tiger seal was the greatest blessing bestowed by the 3 generations of ancestors of the Yi family upon their descendants. On the day of my 5th birthday, my parents handed this Jade Tiger seal to me. At that time, the Yi family was at the peak of its prosperity. My father feared that his achievements might overshadow the ruler, while my mother hid the Jade Tiger talisman in my palm, admonishing me, this is your life-saving talisman. If one day your father, mother, and brothers are no longer here, you must cling to this talisman with all your strength. As long as the Jade Tiger talisman is with you, no one dare harm you. I have always remembered my parents' teachings. After I was the only one left in the Yi family, people from the palace hinted at the whereabouts of the Jade Tiger talisman, but I pretended not to know and kept it a secret. But now, it is Shao Qi who needs the Jade Tiger talisman. Over the years, Empress Zhao has taught me, the crown prince is everything to you. Only if he is well will you be well. If you love the crown prince, you must sacrifice everything for him. In that moment, my mind was filled with a single thought, the Jade Tiger Amulet is powerful, it can protect Shao Qi and bring him back safely from the battlefield to marry me. I handed the Jade Tiger Amulet to Shao Qi, completely unaware of the cunning glint in his eyes after he received it. I also forgot that my parents had given me the Jade Tiger Amulet and warned me, keep the Jade Tiger Amulet tightly in your own hands. Do not trust anyone. Do not trust anyone. With the Jade Tiger Amulet, Shao Qi was as if guided by a divine force. He did not need to go to the battlefield. There were countless skilled warriors, inspired by the spirits of the Yi family, who voluntarily risked their lives to fight for the one holding the Jade Tiger Amulet, defeating enemies and capturing cities. He didn't even have to think. as strategists hiding in the martial arts world were willing to plot and plan for the bearer of the Jade Tiger talisman, winning 9 out of 10 battles. Soon, Shao Qi returned victorious to the capital. I went to greet him with great excitement, only to see a woman by his side, a fierce and heroic female general. The female general saw me from her horse and asked Shao Qi, "Your Highness, is this the concubine you mentioned?" I was taken aback, and Shao Qi immediately denied it. "No. She is Princess Changjing, my younger sister." The female general laughed brightly. "So it's her." The female general was bold and handsome, with a tall and sturdy build. It was said that she had achieved many military merits on the front lines alongside the crown prince. I greeted the female general politely, but she merely glanced at me without returning the courtesy. Soon I discovered the source of her arrogance. The crown prince had earned military merits and should have married. But instead of choosing me, he had requested to marry this female general named Wenrian. Upon hearing the news, I caused a scene in the Eastern Palace. The prince won the battle because of my Jade Tiger amulet. Shao Qi coldly replied, "It was Rian who fought alongside me through life and death, allowing me to secure victory. Don't claim all the credit for yourself." After drinking some wine, he spoke without restraint. "Who is the crown prince's consort? You, an orphan, have no right to speak." I felt bitter and jealous. The empress had taught me since I was a child, the crown prince was everything to me, and no one could take him from me. I learned from what I had seen and heard in the palace over the years, with the empress's teachings ringing in my ears. You are the crown prince's future wife, no one can take him from you. The Yi family sacrificed their lives for the country, you have no one to rely on. The crown prince is your sky. He is your earth. You must protect your sky and earth. I had also witnessed how Empress Zhao dealt with concubines who dared to compete with her for the emperor's favor. Shu Guifei dares to compete with this palace for the emperor's favor? This palace cannot tolerate her. I had been influenced by what I had seen and heard, and began to resort to any means necessary to target that female general. After the plot was exposed, I even imitated the concubines in the palace, crying, causing a scene, and attempting suicide. But the crown prince never looked at me again. It wasn't until the female general fell into the pond and nearly drowned that the emperor finally flew into a rage. He had me dragged to the imperial court and interrogated me in front of all the officials. "Yi Suyao, you schemed and plotted to harm a female general of rank. Your Yi family is renowned for its loyalty and bravery. Yet you have produced such a treacherous villain. I spare your life out of respect for your family's loyalty. But you shall die by your own hand. You shall be granted a proper burial. But in the afterlife, you shall kneel before your parents and brothers and repent for your cruel mistakes." On that day, the emperor's edict of punishment destroyed the Yi family's reputation. From then on, whenever people mentioned the Yi family, they would only recall the once loyal Princess Changjing, who had betrayed her family for a man and plotted against another heroic woman. I wanted to resist, but I had no power to do so. The only Jade Tiger seal had already been deceived away by the crown prince. On the day of my execution, the crown prince embraced the female general, looked at me for the last time, and left these words: "You know only how to fight over a man, you have not inherited a single trace of your family's martial spirit." I tried to beg him to spare me, but Shao Qi laughed. "Yi Suyao, do you really think this crown prince loves you? I only wanted to deceive the Jade Tiger seal from you. Now that the Jade Tiger amulet is in my hands, you, the last surviving member of the Yi family, are now infamous. You're useless to me now." He despised me so much that he ordered the executioners to strike harder, without mercy. As my neck was about to be severed, Empress Zhao came to see me for the last time. Seeing my eyes wide open, my neck twisted and bleeding, she assumed I was already dead and laughed out loud. This foolish girl, even in death, she doesn't realize she fell into my trap of flattery and destruction. My fading consciousness heard her say triumphantly, I had her serve as a companion to the crown prince. But in reality, she was nothing more than a concubine, meant to wear down her spirit. I promised her that once she grew up, she would become the crown prince's consort, so that her heart and eyes would be fixed solely on him. Once a woman has only one man in her eyes, even if that man is the crown prince, she has no future in this life. She has been raised by me, witnessing the jealousy and rivalry among the women of the harem, so her horizons are limited to that small world. Other noblewomen learn how to conduct themselves and study the classics. What she has learned by my side is only the jealousy and rivalry of harem women. As the orphan of the Yi family, she should have been a tiger cub from a military family, but instead she became a concubine, a bitter woman in the palace, and a discarded wife of the crown prince. With this, the loyal remnants of the Yi family will no longer harbor any hope for the Yi clan. Naturally, no one will speak up for the Yi family troops, and the truth behind the annihilation of the Yi family troops in the Dragon's Abyss battle will never be uncovered. Before I died, I heard every word clearly. It was all a lie, the love was fake, the pity was fake, and the betrayal was real. Shaoqi was kind to me only to steal the Jade Tiger token, which was as valuable as a military emblem. Empress Zhao deliberately kept me idle and useless, turning the daughter of a loyal and heroic family into a woman who couldn't live without a man. All to make the Yi family lose the support of the people and cover up the truth behind the Yi family army's destruction. As anger burned within me, my neck was completely severed by that white silk ribbon. I was played so pitifully that even heaven couldn't bear to watch, granting me a second chance to return to a year ago, the day Shaoqi blindfolded me and forced himself upon me in the study. Shaoqi was lying on top of me, licking the lipstick off my lips. Though my eyes were covered, the invasive, sticky sensation felt both familiar and repulsive. My hands were already pinned above my head, and as I struggled, Shaoqi squeezed my neck with a playful, teasing grip. The force wasn't strong, but the pressure caused a suffocating sensation. The pain of having my neck snapped in my previous life erupted within this body. In a fit of terror and anger, I suddenly raised my right leg and kicked him between the legs, sending Shaoqi flying to the ground. I had some martial arts training from my childhood, and even though I had been pampered by the Empress over the years, the strength I mustered in my rage was no joke. Shaoqi hadn't expected me to resist so fiercely. He was knocked to the ground and was struggling to get up. My eyes were covered by a pink veil, which obstructed my vision but wasn't completely opaque. I charged precisely toward Shaoqi, lifting my foot like a heavy weight and stomping down hard on the sensitive area between his legs. Ah! Shaoqi screamed in pain, and I laughed, then ground my foot harder. Yi Suyao, you're crazy. I'm the crown prince. Let go. Let go. Shaoqi was writhing in agony, his body curved like a shrimp, screaming, You dare! Ah! Crown prince? You dare to impersonate the crown prince. I didn't rush to remove the gauze from my eyes. Shaoqi had covered my eyes to tease me, so I might as well use this veil of teasing to play the innocent and trample the crown prince's wicked lineage. As I ground my foot down, I innocently said, If the crown prince wishes to be intimate with me, he would do so openly and honestly. Why must you blindfold me like this? You're just good at imitating his voice. Do you really think this princess would fall for it? You were so tough just now. What's wrong? 2 kicks and you're already weak? Are you a eunuch? Useless thing. The prince is tall and strong. How could he be as weak and small as you? I lifted my foot and crushed down harder, like a stone mill grinding beans. Shaoqi suddenly let out a piercing scream. I could feel it too, the prince's 2 ounces of flesh between his legs had been crushed to pieces. The commotion finally drew the guards outside. In my previous life, Shaoqi had specifically instructed the guards outside not to interfere no matter what they heard. The guards, hearing the screams, assumed it was just bedroom antics and dared not disturb them. It wasn't until Shaoqi's cries grew increasingly desperate and piercing that they rushed in. Following them were Emperor Zhenda and Empress Zhao, who were in the nearby imperial garden, along with several ministers from the court. "Stop!" Empress Zhao rushed in and saw the scene. Shouting in fury as if the sky had fallen, Shaoqi was her only prince. What I had crushed under my feet was not only Shaoqi's lineage but also his future as crown prince, and Empress Zhao's fantasy of becoming Empress Dowager. I finally released my foot, startled, and removed the powdered veil from my face. Looking down, I saw Shaoqi clutching his lower body. His face as pale as paper, his lips devoid of color. His lower body, visible through his robes, had been brutalized into a mass of mangled flesh, blood flowing freely. I pretended to be startled and jumped back, shouting innocently, "Prince Shaoqi! It really is you. I truly didn't know. I thought it was some shameless fake eunuch." I only stepped on him a little harder. Accompanying the emperor and empress were the prime minister and the Duke of Dingen. These two were important ministers and close friends of my father when he was alive. I grabbed the pink silk robe and knelt in front of the emperor, crying, "Your Majesty, please understand. I really didn't know it was His Highness the Crown Prince. I was blindfolded and couldn't see anything. I thought it was an assassin trying to assault me. So I acted in self-defense." Shaoqi, clutching his blood-soaked lower body, could no longer speak. Empress Zhao flew into a rage. "You're lying. You've been with the Crown Prince day and night. How could you not recognize his voice? This is the Crown Prince's study. Who else would dare to enter? You clearly intended to harm my royal son. Are you saying that I intentionally caused the Crown Prince to be unable to have children while in the palace?" I wiped away tears while playing the victim. My entire Yi family died for the country. I have no one left behind. Even if you gave me 10 lives, I wouldn't dare harm the Crown Prince. The Empress once said she regarded me as her own daughter. Now you dare to suspect me like this? Empress Zhao narrowed her eyes maliciously. "You wicked Yi Suyao. You dare to pull this trick in front of me." She lunged forward to kick me, but was stopped by the Duke of Dingen. "Empress, please calm down." The Prime Minister also walked in front of me to protect me. "Your Majesty." Empress Suyao is the descendant of a loyal and heroic family and the only surviving member of the Yi family. She would never do anything disloyal. Today's incident must be a misunderstanding. The Duke of Dingen also said, "Yes. The entire Yi family died for their country and their loyalty is evident to all. How could their only daughter be disrespectful to the imperial family?" These two men were so powerful that the entire court would tremble when they stamped their feet. Yet they both defended me. In fact, after the entire Yi family died for their country, many ministers in the court were sympathetic to the Yi family. As the orphan of the Yi family, I was originally the object of their expectations. They all hoped I would become a heroic woman and restore the Yi family's honor. However, in my previous life, after being adopted into the palace, rumors of my alleged affair with the Crown Prince, though half true and half false, always reached the imperial court, attracting the criticism of the censors. 1,000-mile dike collapses because of an ant's hole. Over the years, my reputation was on the brink of ruin due to these half-true, half-false rumors. Therefore, in my previous life, when I was caught up in a love triangle with a female general, even though many of the things I was accused of were not my doing, everyone assumed I had climbed to power by stepping on the bones of loyal martyrs. Claiming to be noble while being wicked and despicable, they accused me of being disloyal, unfilial, unkind, and unjust. In the end, when I was hanged, not a single minister pleaded for me. In this life, things have not yet reached the point of no return. Most of these ministers were my father's close friends back then, and the Duke of Dingen even owed my father his life. In my previous life, the words of these ministers were the knives that the royal family used to kill me. In this life, I will turn these important ministers into my weapons. I burst into tears, Your Majesty. Please investigate. This humble princess bears the title of princess, changing in name only. Yet I am well aware that I am but a dependent in the imperial family. All my close relatives have died for the country. Now that I am alive, it is only to fulfill my filial duty by paying respects at my parents' graves and ensuring that the Yi family does not die out. I spoke with increasing humility since I entered the palace. The crown prince has indeed treated me with great kindness. If the crown prince desires my body, how could I dare refuse? But the crown prince should not have poisoned my tea or blinded my eyes. After my parents and brothers died for the country, I have been tormented by nightmares day and night. After being so betrayed, I was truly terrified and accidentally injured the crown prince. If the crown prince has suffered any harm, I am willing to die to atone for my crime. As I spoke, I wiped away my tears and tried to throw myself against the wall. This time, it was the emperor who stopped me. Emperor Xinde said, "Princess, why do you do this? I believe you acted without malice. The fault lies with the crown prince. As the heir to the throne, he behaved so recklessly in private, which is unbecoming of a gentleman." Empress Zhao was shocked, Your Majesty. She has injured our royal son so severely. He brought this upon himself. A crown prince playing such disgraceful games in the study, bullying the daughter of a loyal minister who has no one to rely on. This is a disgrace to the imperial family. How have you raised your children? Emperor Xinde sternly reprimanded the empress and defended me in front of Prime Minister Lin and the Duke of Ding'an. The entire Yi family died defending Emperor Xinde's throne. And now the emperor is defending me. Not because he truly remembers the Yi family's contributions, but because he wants to appear as a benevolent and wise ruler in front of his ministers. He can't let people criticize him for treating an orphaned girl harshly and being cold-hearted and ungracious. Moreover, Emperor Xinde has 6 sons, and Shaoqi merely holds the title of eldest son by the empress. If he were truly outstanding, it wouldn't be so obvious. The curse of being cut off from the line of succession applies to Shaoqi's descendants. The Xinde emperor has plenty of sons, he's already held his grandchildren. Compared to Shaoqi's heir, the emperor cares more about the jade tiger talisman in my hands. Everyone in the imperial family wants to trick me out of the jade tiger talisman. As my parents said, as long as the jade tiger talisman is in my hands, no one dares to harm me. That's the real source of my arrogance. No matter how much the empress made a scene, the emperor paid no heed. In the end, Shaoqi fainted from pain and was hurriedly carried to the imperial chambers for treatment. An hour later, the imperial physician returned, his face drenched in cold sweat. The crown prince's lineage is no longer viable. It is likely that he will never have children again. The imperial physician spoke diplomatically, but his words left little room for interpretation. The crown prince was now no different from a eunuch. No. At least eunuchs undergo a surgical procedure with clean incisions. The crown prince had been completely crushed and ground into a horrifying pulp. It couldn't even be shaped anymore. Empress Zhao heard the terrible news. Her eyes rolled back, and she nearly fainted. After being supported by palace maids, she regained her senses and rushed forward, ready to tear me apart. I didn't dodge, I stood there, admiring the empress's desperate and ugly behavior. In my previous life, I had seen her hypocritical, dignified facade countless times. Now that her true nature had been exposed, I naturally wanted to take a closer look. If she had hurt me, it would have been even better. The news would spread throughout the court tomorrow. The crown prince had been disrespectful to the orphan of the Yi family, and Empress Zhao had mistreated the daughter of a loyal martyr. Just as the empress's hand was about to strike me, someone suddenly stepped in front of me and took the blow for me. A dull thud echoed, and a trace of blood trickled from the corner of Shu Guifei's mouth. But she held me tightly behind her. The emperor hurried forward. "My beloved concubine, why did you come here?" Shu Guifei was the emperor's favorite concubine and had always been at odds with the empress. In my previous life, many of the empress's palace intrigues were aimed at the concubine. Shu Guifei spoke softly, "Your Majesty. I heard that Princess Changjing had made a mistake. So I came to plead for her. I never expected the empress to lose her composure and strike someone. I am unharmed, and I do not feel any pain. As the favored concubine." She must have ascertained the emperor's stance on the matter before rushing over to speak these words. After speaking, she wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and turned to check on me. "Princess, are you all right? Xiaohu document anti-piracy. Find book machine person Xiaohu. Stable and reliable heavy checkmark, no pitfalls." Shu Guifei was the daughter of a military general. Yet she was extremely beautiful. When she rushed over to protect me, the first thing I smelled was the peony incense on her body. I looked at the consort gratefully and shook my head, saying I was fine. Empress Zhao was so enraged she trembled all over. Her only son had been deprived of his heir, and all the prospects she had cultivated over the years were gone. Gone. She was about to lose control again. But this time Emperor Xinde intervened, slapping her across the face and shouting, "Empress, have you calmed down yet? If you dare to lose control again, you will be sent to the cold palace." Empress Zhao was stunned into silence, finally calming down. She glared at me, muttering, my son, as palace maids helped her into the sleeping quarters. Inside the hall, court physicians were applying medicine to the crown prince, whose cries of pain echoed continuously. The emperor knew his eldest son was ruined, sighed impatiently, and turned to leave. Prime Minister Lin and the Duke of Ding'an followed suit. As they left, they glanced at me with concern. At that moment, I wanted to ask them to take me out of the palace, but I quickly realized that this was impossible. I was the sole survivor of the Yi family. If I left the palace and fell into the hands of any faction, it would cause the imperial family to fear me and I would be caught in the crossfire. Moreover, I still possessed the Jade Tiger amulet. Though the emperor had not explicitly demanded it, he had hinted at it numerous times. He would never allow me to leave his sight. Even if the chancellor and the marquis wished to save me, they were powerless to do so, and I could not drag them into this. But was I to end up like in my previous life, being toyed with by the empress and the crown prince? Princess Su Yao? The noble consort called my given name gently. I snapped back to reality and saw her holding my hand, smiling warmly. The crown prince's matter, the empress still has her plans. If the princess does not mind, you may stay at my Changel palace for a while. With me here, the empress's people cannot touch you. The emperor's harem was divided into two factions. To survive in the harem, one had to choose either the empress's camp or the consort's camp. Having offended the empress and unable to leave the palace for now, I had no reason to refuse the consort's offer of help. I followed her into the Changel palace. She personally arranged a sleeping chamber for me and gifted me numerous garments and jewelry, none of which were inferior to those given by the empress. Her face still bore the imprint of the empress's slap, but her mood was clearly good. With the crown prince deposed, the empress had lost her support, and the opportunity now fell to the wise prince. The noble consort also had a son, the wise Prince Xiaozhen. I had inadvertently eliminated her strongest rival, so she naturally treated me with great kindness and friendship. I heard that you were in the empress's palace, ostensibly a princess, but in reality just a lowly maid to the crown prince. When he wrote, you had to attend to his brush and ink. When he was punished, you had to kneel beside him. Today, he even tried to take advantage of you. I innocently replied. The empress said this was my duty. The noble consort Shu patted my hand tenderly. Don't listen to her nonsense. She's treating you like a concubine. You are the sole survivor of the Yi family. The empresses personally bestowed Princess Changjing, of the highest nobility, The Empress is bullying you because you're young and deceiving you. She doesn't let you study or practice martial arts. Other noble ladies are being carefully cultivated, while you're falling behind them by a wide margin. The Empress is truly wicked. She's making you rely entirely on Shaoqi, doing menial tasks every day. What future do you have? If Shaoqi betrays you, what will you do? Indeed, my situation was clear to everyone in the palace. But in my previous life, no one had spoken it outright. They had simply watched me, the daughter of a loyal and martyred official, being treated as a concubine for the crown prince. I pretended to be enlightened, shedding tears and said, "Empress Dowager, what should I do? I have no one to rely on and can't make a decision." The noble consort held my hand and said, "Just stay by my side and rest assured. I will do my best to protect you." She then changed the subject, speaking with a hint of reluctance. "But the Empress is still the Empress. What you have done today has not only harmed the Crown Prince's lineage but also the Empress's very life. Once she recovers, she will not spare you. Open attacks are easy to dodge, but hidden arrows are hard to guard against. By then, even I may not be able to protect you. Please save me, noble consort Shu." I was so frightened that I knelt down to beg for help. But noble consort Shu hurriedly helped me up and said, "The only way out now is to strike first. Without the ability to have children, the crown prince is unworthy of his title. We just need to add fuel to the fire. Convince the emperor to depose the crown prince, and ensure the empress has no chance of making a comeback. Then you will be safe." The empress looked into my eyes and smiled seductively. "Good child. You've been by the empress's side for so long. You must have noticed some secret she's hiding, right? Tell me, and I'll take care of it for you." After all that, the empress was just using me to bring down the empress. However, this was exactly what I wanted. I had been worried about not being able to use someone else's knife to kill. The empress consort was practically handing it to me on a silver platter. 2 days later, I went to the Eastern Palace to visit Shaoqi. There was another woman in the palace. She was dressed in a sleek military uniform, seemingly disguised as a man, but her head was adorned with gold hairpins and floral decorations. I recognized her as the female general who had accompanied Shaoqi on his military campaigns in my previous life, returned victorious, and eventually replaced me as the crown princess, Wenrian. Wenrian was the daughter of a duke. In my previous life, after Shaoqi set out on his military campaign, Wenrian disguised herself as a man and joined the army, fighting alongside the crown prince through life and death. After their victory, they returned to the capital, becoming a legendary tale of love and bravery among the people. Shaoqi had clearly relied on the jade tiger symbol to lead the troops to victory. Yet the story was later twisted into a romantic legend of the crown prince and Wenrian working together on the battlefield, their hearts in perfect harmony, defeating the enemy. Not only were the sacrifices of others erased, but I was also portrayed as a useless ornament by Wenrian. As soon as Wenrian saw me, she drew the whip from her waist and aimed it at me. "You've ruined the crown prince like this, and you dare to show your face?" I protested innocently. "I didn't mean to, Your Highness. I've come today to apologize." Shaoqi could only sit half upright on the bed, his back hunched. "Yi Suyao, stop acting." His voice had grown unusually high-pitched, and I almost burst out laughing. The effect was too obvious. I remained innocent. "I'm not acting. I'm truly here to apologize. How would you like me to compensate you, Your Highness?" "I'm willing to do anything." Shaoqi perked up at those words. "Anything?" His tone softened as well. He was now crippled from the waist down and desperately needed the jade tiger talisman in my hands, for the sake of the 15,000 troops and the allegiance of the nation's strategists. Shaoqi was even willing to overlook my act of cutting off his lineage and put on a false facade of forgiveness. When Rian saw Shaoqi's change in attitude and hurriedly said, "Your Highness, Don't believe her sweet talk. She's trying to seduce you. She even dares to dream of becoming the crown princess. Ha 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 ha. I burst into laughter. What are you laughing at? I looked at Wenrian. I'm laughing at you. Miss Wen. The one who's always wanted to be the crown princess is you. Isn't it? And you're the only one who takes a crippled crown prince seriously. What did you say? I said. I spoke slowly and clearly. I won't compete with you for a eunuch as a husband. These words left even Shaoqi speechless. It took him a long time to react. I had dared to humiliate him in front of everyone. He flew into a rage. But since he couldn't get out of bed, his anger sounded like that of a eunuch. Yi Suyao. How dare you defy your superiors? You dare to be so bold. When Rian swiftly drew her whip and lashed out at me, I dodged sideways and ran out of the inner chamber. When Rian swung her whip, chasing after me relentlessly, she cursed and swung her whip, her anger boiling over. Completely oblivious to who was in front of her, she lashed out with all her strength. Your Majesty, be careful, Shu Guifei shouted, but did not step forward to block the blow. When Rian's whip struck the emperor's golden crown, knocking it off his head. Guards! Protect the emperor! The imperial guards immediately drew their swords. When Rian froze in place, dropped the whip, knelt down, and pleaded for mercy. Your Majesty, spare my life. I did not mean to hit you. It was an accident. With the crown off, Emperor Jinda's hair fell loose. To cause the emperor to lose his composure in public was a grave offense. Using a whip to strike the emperor's face was an even greater crime, amounting to an attempt on his life. How dare you! How dare you! The emperor's anger was so great that it startled Empress Zhao, who was sitting in her wheelchair and was pushed out of the hall. Seeing this scene, both of them turned pale with fear. Your Majesty, please calm down. Father, please calm down. Emperor Jinda, being old and suspicious, was always on guard against those who sought to usurp the throne and harm him. When Rian was the niece of the empress from her maternal family, and naturally aligned with the prince's faction, Shaoqi hurriedly explained, Father, it was Yi Suyao who came to humiliate your son, when Rian only wielded the whip to discipline her on my behalf. I never expected the emperor to arrive suddenly. This was all an accident. Yes. 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 When Rian nodded vigorously, following Shaoqi's lead, it's all Yi Suyao's fault. She came today claiming to apologize, but she was actually here to humiliate the crown prince. Shu Guifei retorted. Princess Changjing has been in my palace these past few days, tormented by guilt over injuring the crown prince. How could she humiliate him? That's impossible. It's true. When Rian hurriedly reported, Yi Suyao said that the crown prince is already a eunuch. She won't compete with me for a eunuch as a husband. These words were indeed harsh. The emperor looked at me. Princess, did you really say these things? Your Majesty, please judge fairly. I fell to my knees, crying so hard my tears mixed with rain. Appearing weak and innocent, your humble servant has been deeply favored by the emperor's grace. How could I possibly dare to offend the crown prince? I had no one behind me. I have been blaming myself every day for injuring the crown prince. Today I came to apologize to His Highness, but I never expected him to suddenly fly into a rage. When Gu said he was going to discipline me on His Highness's behalf, so he picked up a whip and tried to hit me. As I spoke, I rolled up the sleeve of my left arm, revealing a fresh whip wound that was still bleeding. No matter how you looked at it, I was the one who seemed more pitiful. If beating or scolding me could compensate the prince, I would die willingly. But you cannot slander me like this. My parents raised me strictly when they were alive. How could I possibly defy the Yi family's rules and dishonor the crown prince? Do you think I'm not afraid of death? I acted with such conviction, constantly reminding everyone I was a loyal orphan. helpless and dependent on others. How could I possibly dare to insult my master? It's all a frame-up. I'm the most innocent. I'm the most pitiful. Shaoqi watched my performance, grinding his teeth and roaring. You're lying. You're lying. Don't believe her. The more he shouted, the more powerful he seemed, and the less likely he appeared to be the one being bullied. The more I acted weak and timid, the more everyone believed I was the one being wronged and mistreated. In my previous life, I never understood a simple truth: the logic of the weak have the upper hand can indeed be used to counter evil with evil. With my entire family martyred for the country, I was left alone and helpless. Yet, in matters of great principle, I found myself in a position of power. All I had to do was invoke the merits of the Yi family, weep for my deceased parents and brothers, and everyone would feel ashamed in my presence. Sighing at the plight of an orphaned girl, I should have been more stubborn and unreasonable. Otherwise, I would truly be a pitiful person who could be bullied by anyone. I played the role of the pitiful one to the fullest. Shaoqi was immobilized in his wheelchair, while when Rian moved freely, she was enraged by me and suddenly lunged at me in public. I'll tear that lying mouth of yours off. The Imperial Guards weren't pushovers. They immediately twisted when Rian's arms behind her back and forced her to kneel on the ground. I looked at the Emperor in horror and said, Your Majesty, you saw it. When Rian wants me dead. Emperor Xinda said, When Rian, you dare to commit violence in the palace and even injure me? Bring her hands that hold the whip, and let's see how she dares to be so arrogant. When Rian was terrified and immediately knelt down begging for mercy, Your Majesty, please spare my life. Empress Zhao was also panicking. The Wen family, the Duke of Wen, had intricate business ties with Empress Zhao's maternal family. When Rian was the daughter she had chosen for Shaoqi as his wife. Now that Shaoqi had been castrated, his position as crown prince was in jeopardy. If they lost the Wen family's support, she and Shaoqi would have no future. Your Majesty, Rian is a good child. She lost her composure today merely out of indignation for Shaoqi. Her crime does not warrant such punishment. Empress Zhao glared at me. Your Majesty, do you not find it odd that you happened to collide with Wen Rian's whip at such a convenient time? Princess Changjing, you deliberately spoke disrespectfully in front of the crown prince, forcing Wen Rian to lose her composure and whip him. The Emperor arriving at this moment was also part of your plan, wasn't it? Empress Zhao looked at the noble consort. Noble consort. If I'm not mistaken, the Emperor suddenly came to see the crown prince today because you instigated it. Didn't you? Empress Zhao was correct. Today's incident was planned by me and Consort Shu. I knew that when Rian was in the Eastern Palace, so I deliberately came to provoke her. Consort Shu also timed it perfectly, persuading the Emperor to visit the Crown Prince at this hour, so that he would witness when Rian's outburst. A whip is a weapon that only a master can wield with ease. When Rian is far from that level. As long as she was provoked, I would guide her slightly, and the whip would inevitably strike the Emperor by accident. The Empress's words made Emperor Xingde grow suspicious. He turned to Xu Guifei, about to confront her. I suddenly spoke up. Empress, are you defending Wen Rian because she is the daughter of Wen Guogong? The Emperor's expression grew stern. What did you say? I innocently revealed. In the years I have been by the Empress's side, I have often seen her exchanging letters with the Duke of Wen. No wonder the Empress is so protective of Wen Rian, who resembles an old friend. Empress Zhao had been engaged to the Duke of Wen in her youth. Later, Emperor Xingde, impressed by the Zhao family's influence, forcibly married Empress Zhao into the imperial family. These matters of the past were something I had discovered in my previous life. Now that the three of them were elderly with children of their own, the Emperor's suspicious nature meant that even a half-true, half-false mention from me could plant seeds of doubt in his mind. Empress Zhao immediately denied it. Your Majesty, This little girl must have heard about the old affairs from somewhere and is intentionally trying to drive a wedge between us. Cheer is already so old. Your Majesty. Think about it carefully. Even for Cheer's future. I would never do anything improper. The Empress and the Duke are both of a certain age, their correspondence could not possibly be about romantic affairs. I deflected the accusation with a clever remark ever since I was taken in by the Empress. She has occasionally asked me about the Yi family's Jade Tiger token. Upon hearing the words Jade Tiger token, Emperor Xingda's expression, which had previously been impassive, darkened noticeably. The Jade Tiger token was equivalent to a military token. How dare the Empress, a woman of the harem, covet a military token? This was tantamount to meddling in state affairs. Empress Zhao's face turned pale. Over the years, she had confidently raised me to be a useless fool who only had eyes for Shaoqi. She never imagined that I would so precisely target her most vulnerable point. She tried to cover my mouth. But it was too late. The Empress always coaxed me into giving the Jade Tiger seal to the Crown Prince, saying that it would ensure his bright future and that I should present it to him at a critical moment to assist him. I asked the Empress what she meant by critical moment, and she replied enigmatically that it referred to the time when the throne changes hands. I asked, doesn't the throne change hands only when the Emperor passes away? The Empress praised me for being clever, saying that on that day, I must use the Jade Tiger talisman to help the Crown Prince ascend the throne smoothly. She always talks about how parents love their children and plan for their future. So in her letters to the Duke of Wen, she always mentions the Jade Tiger talisman and the troops, saying that the Emperor is old and frail. And at the critical moment, the Duke must ensure the Crown Prince ascends the throne safely. I spoke these words with an innocent tone. To these cunning adults, my words were innocent childishness, offensive yet honest. Beyond question. Emperor Xingda's face had grown so dark one could wring water from his beard. He listened coldly as Empress Zhao knelt on the ground defending herself. And Shaoqi rolled off his wheelchair and fell to his knees, begging the Emperor not to believe my slander. When Rian was so scared she was trembling all over, unable to utter a single word. The Emperor did not react immediately, but ordered the Empress to take me back to the palace for proper discipline. On the way back to the palace with the noble concubine, I asked her anxiously, Madam, has our plan for today failed? The noble concubine smiled and said, No, not only has it not failed, but it has been very successful. I have been by the Emperor's side for so many years, I know his character better than anyone. The imperial wrath displayed on the spot is nothing. What is truly terrifying is that he did not punish me on the spot today. Do you think the Emperor would believe me if I were to say all this? The Empress consort smiled enigmatically. Today's events were merely a trigger. Let us wait and see, those in the court will naturally help us pin the Empress's crimes on her. The Empress consort was the daughter of a prominent family, and her maternal clan's influence rivaled that of Empress Zhao. Merely speaking out won't bring down the Empress. What I want is for the literati behind Shu Guifei to fan the flames. I feigned innocence as the Empress continued. The Empress's old affair with the Duke of Wen is nothing. What truly terrifies the Emperor is that she intends to use her connection with the Duke of Wen's mansion to help Shaoqi usurp the throne. The noble concubine was determined, I'll teach you a lesson. The Emperor's anger can leave 1,000,000 corpses and rivers of blood. Just wait and see. Soon. I witnessed what the Emperor's anger truly meant. That night, a piercing scream echoed through the depths of the palace. A palace maid stumbled into the Empress consort's chambers to report. The Emperor ordered someone to hack off the hands of the Wen family's young miss with a whip in the palace alley. The young miss fainted from the pain. The Empress consort didn't even bother to look up. Just sneered, such matters in the harem were nothing new to her. She turned her gaze to observe my expression. I feigned a startled look, and the Empress consort embraced me, patting my back like a mother. This is only the beginning. 3 days later, the ministers accused the Zhao clan and the Duke's mansion of colluding with each other and embezzling public funds. In the Empress's palace, A palace maid secretly brought out letters between the Empress and the Duke of Wen, accusing them of having an affair. The Jingde Emperor issued an edict, accusing the Duke of Wen's clan of treason, ordering the entire clan to be searched, the men beheaded, and the women exiled. At the same time, the Empress's maternal family was also implicated. On the 5th day, the Emperor stripped Shaoqi of his title as crown prince. The imperial edict stated clearly Shaoqi has no heirs and is unworthy of heavenly favor. I follow the will of heaven and strip him of his position as heir apparent, demoting him to the title of Prince of Heqing. He must leave the capital immediately and may not return without imperial summons. Empress Zhao disregarded the heavy rain and pleaded her case in the emperor's private chambers, only to be met with a punishment of house arrest. On the 7th day, the emperor issued another imperial edict, containing only 4 words: the Zhao clan is to be executed. The Empress Dowager made all the necessary arrangements. When the eunuch went to the cold palace to carry out the execution, I was allowed to watch from the side. The emperor promised the empress that if she would voluntarily accept death, he would spare her title and Shaoqi's life. Zhao Shi, for her son and the last shred of dignity, had no choice but to die. On the day of the execution, I stood in the sunlight streaming through the window of the cold palace, half my body hidden in the shadows, half exposed to the light. It felt like 1 foot in hell and 1 foot in the human world. Empress Zhao suddenly pointed at me and burst into laughter. Yi Suyao, what kind of heroes were your parents? You are the only bloodline they left behind in this world. Now you have become this inhuman, ghostly creature. Though I have fallen, you are no winner either. Do you think the Empress consort is a good person? Let me tell you, once you enter this harem, even the best people turn into demons. Even the most wicked demons fear the women of this harem. What good is it to be the descendant of loyal heroes? Now you've learned to scheme and kill, using every dirty trick in the book. Women in the harem scheme against one another. Your parents gave you the jade tiger amulet, hoping you would become a heroic woman. But you've been raised by me to become a malevolent spirit of the harem. The Empress is right. I spoke in a chilling voice, dressed in white robes, picking up the white silk from the plate, looking more like a vengeful spirit returned to seek revenge. When I first entered the palace, you confiscated my small wooden sword and forbade me from learning martial arts. You made me the companion reader for Shaoqi, yet you made me stand and attend to his writing, fearing I might learn something from the great scholar. You used me to manipulate others, lie, and frame them, bringing down the concubines you disliked. And you even made the crown prince deceive me in body and heart. You confined me to this corner of the harem, determined to turn the daughter of a loyal and virtuous man into your son's concubine, a bitter woman trapped in a deep palace, a parasitic weed who can't live without a man. Congratulations, Empress. You've succeeded. I wrapped the white silk around Empress Zhao's neck and gripped her chin. All the tactics I used to bring you down today were taught to me by you over the past 3 years. You wanted to see me fight to the death for a man, so I'll use you and the crown prince to test the waters first. So such tactics can bring down even the most intelligent empress and the noble crown prince. Empress Zhao's pupils contracted sharply. Today, she finally realized that the orphan she had looked down upon had been cultivated into a more vicious demon than herself. 2 eunuchs tightened the ends of the white silk, and the suffocating sensation of death caused Empress Zhao to erupt with her final instinct for survival. She desperately grabbed my sleeves. Yi Suyao, don't you want to know why your parents and your entire family died in the battle at Longyuan? Don't you want to know who the true enemy is who destroyed the Yi family's loyalty and honor? I turned around, reached out, and suddenly grabbed her neck. Of course I know. Hasn't the Empress noticed yet? My revenge has already begun. You will be the first to descend into the underworld, to kneel and beg forgiveness for my parents, my brothers, and the Yi family troops. Empress Zhao was strangled to death, her body left in a horrifying state. The emperor announced to the outside world that she had died suddenly of illness, ordering her to be buried with honors. However, she was secretly moved to the most remote concubine's tomb. The white silk used to strangle Empress Zhao was sent to Shaoqi by the emperor. It was said that Shaoqi was first terrified, his face ashen, then broke into tears of fear. The emperor was warning him to behave himself, or else his fate would be no better than his mother's. On the day Shaoqi was stripped of his title as crown prince and expelled from the eastern palace, I saw him at the palace gates. He was sitting in a simple palanquin. As soon as he saw me, he rushed down from the palanquin. The wounds on his lower body had healed, but his posture could no longer stand tall. He lunged at me like a madman. "Yi Suyao, it's all your fault. You're to blame. I'll strangle you. My mother was beheaded, and you deserve to die without a proper burial." He clutched my neck with all his strength, and I struggled desperately. But Shaoqi was a grown man, and the force he exerted in his rage was terrifying. As I was choked until my vision went black, Shaoqi suddenly let go. I opened my eyes to see a tall figure standing in front of me. The man kicked Shaoqi in the abdomen with such force that there was a loud crack. Shaoqi's legs gave way, and he fell backward onto the ground. "Shao Jin, how dare you harm the crown prince? Brother, do you still think you're the crown prince? You're no better than a grasshopper in autumn." The man who had come to protect me was none other than the virtuous Prince Shaojin. Shaojin ignored Shaoqi and turned to look at me. Seeing the red marks on my neck, he immediately ordered someone to fetch a court physician. This was my first encounter with the wise prince. I had only heard of him before but never seen him in person. Shaojin was the son of the noble consort Shu, inheriting her beauty, and was exceptionally handsome, the most striking among all the princes. If Shaoqi was a flailing mantis, then Shaojin was a yellow oriole lurking in the shadows, biding its time. Today, with Empress Zhao and Shaoqi defeated, Shaojin finally emerged to reap the rewards. Previously, it had been Shu Guifei who had been planning for him, while he remained aloof. In my previous life, Shaoqi had nearly fallen at Shaojin's hands, but Shaoqi had my jade tiger amulet to aid him. Facing overwhelming military strength and the support of the people, Shaojin was no match for him. I pretended to be startled before regaining my composure, then bowed to Shaojin. "I pay my respects to His Royal Highness the Wise Prince." Shaojin immediately helped me to my feet. "General Yiwu was my mentor in martial arts. You are his only blood relative. There is no need for royal etiquette in my presence. The wound on your neck is severe. I will take you to have it treated." He took my wrist and led me back to the palace. I obediently followed behind him, glancing back to see Shaoqi still lying on the ground, cursing angrily. He didn't know that his legs had been twisted and turned outward. Shaojin's kick had been extremely vicious, aimed at paralyzing Shaoqi's lower body. Only a prince with all three legs crippled would become a true outcast. Shaojin would not allow Shaoqi the slightest chance of redemption. He was a ruthless man. I turned my head to stare at Shaojin's back. I couldn't leave the palace before I could build my own power. I had no choice but to keep seeking shelter under the roofs of the royal family's noblemen. Time and again. Today, I deliberately dismissed everyone around me and waited at the palace gate for Shaoqi, just to wait for him to act and force Shaojin to show himself. The wise prince should not hide behind his mother and watch the battle from afar. Enter my trap. The noble consort heard that I nearly died at the palace gate and brought me into the inner chambers, giving me the best bruise-healing medicine to treat my injuries. Due to gender etiquette, Shaojin waited outside the chambers. The noble consort applied the medicine while saying, "Though the empress is dead, Shaoqi still lives. The remnants of the eastern palace likely won't spare you. You must find someone you can rely on." I naively asked, "Does the Empress Dowager no longer want Io?" Shu Guifei smiled gently. "You're a smart child. How could I abandon you? But I am merely a palace concubine. If you stay by my side, You'll be trapped in this harem, never seeing the outside world. She placed her palm over my hand and asked softly, "If you're willing, why not go to my son, the Prince of Sien?" A woman's life is about finding a reliable man to rely on and using his influence to advance herself. These words sounded familiar. The Empress Zhao had once said the same to me, explaining that my fate was intertwined with the crown prince's. If he prospered, so would I. Xu Guifei was smarter than the Empress. She phrased it more diplomatically. On the surface, she was saying that the virtuous prince could protect me. But the underlying meaning was that I should support the virtuous prince if he prospers. I will too. Just as the Empress had once schemed for Shao Qi, Xu Guifei, after defeating her arch-rival, finally revealed her true intentions before me. She didn't force me to take a stance, only telling me to get a good night's sleep and think it over carefully. The next day, the virtuous prince came to see me. He spoke solemnly. "Su Yao. In truth, when the Yi family's army was annihilated at Longyuan, it wasn't because they fought to the death with the northern Di people. Instead, someone within their ranks deliberately cut off their retreat. I was shocked and began to cry, demanding to know who had betrayed my Yi family." Xiao Zhen said, "This matter involves many people. With my current abilities, I cannot avenge the Yi family army. In this world, only two people can bring justice to the Yi family army. One is the emperor, and the other is the future emperor. Some of the remains of the Yi family army are still piled at the bottom of the abyss in Longyuan. Only the royal family has the power to organize a team to retrieve these remains from the abyss and bring them back to their homeland for proper burial. However, the emperor repeatedly refused to take action. And after a summer passed, the border villagers could only erect symbolic graves for these heroes. Clearly, Emperor Jinda did not value the lives of the 50,000 soldiers of the Yi family army. And the future emperor is the crown prince. Xiao Zhen was hinting around, essentially asking me to help him ascend to the position of crown prince. "Princess, I swear that once I ascend the throne, I will thoroughly investigate the truth behind the Battle of Longyuan and ensure that the heroes of the Yi family do not die in vain." I looked into Xiao Zhen's eyes. "If you break this oath?" Xiao Zhen raised 3 fingers. "If I break this oath, I shall not die a good death." I covered Xiao Zhen's mouth and agreed to his terms. 3 days later, Xu Guifei held a grand coming-of-age ceremony for me. In the past, in the Empress's palace, I was nothing more than a concubine of the crown prince. Now, everyone in the palace finally remembered that I was the descendant of a loyal and heroic family. The Princess Changjing, who had been granted a title. Xiao Zhen and I attended the Imperial Academy together, and I no longer had to grind ink for anyone. I sat alongside the imperial princes and princesses in the classroom, studying military classics with unwavering focus, seizing every opportunity to discuss philosophy with the great scholars and tutors. Xiao Zhen dismissed all the concubines and maidservants from the prince's mansion to demonstrate his devotion and regard for me. I have no close relatives left in the world, and my marriage is entirely decided by the imperial family. Rather than marry someone else, I chose Xiao Zhen. At least I know what he wants, and he possesses what I need. I allowed him to enter my world. At first, he maintained his boundaries, engaging in romantic banter and discussing poetry and literature with me. Later, he grew confident that I was deeply in love with him and began to tease me in the study. I clung to the corner of a military manual, pinned to the chair by him, kissing me so passionately I couldn't breathe. Xiao Zhen was completely immersed in the moment, but from an angle he couldn't see. I kept my eyes wide open, remaining calm. A year later, the Western Xia invaded the border once again, just as they had in a previous life. This time, the prince leading the troops was Xiao Zhen. Xiao Zhen came to find me, and I knew his intentions. This was undoubtedly the best opportunity to demand the Jade Tiger token from him. Before he could speak, I said, "I wish to accompany your highness on the campaign." Xiaojin was taken aback. The border is perilous. How can a young lady like you risk your life? Stay in the palace and wait for my return. I am the daughter of the Yi family, a descendant of loyal and heroic ancestors. Your Highness should not confine me to the palace. I raised my red-plumed long spear. A year ago, I had retrieved my small wooden sword from the Empress's palace and later obtained the red-plumed spear passed down to me by my mother at the Yi family's main residence. If your Highness wishes to win this battle, allow me to accompany the troops. If I go to war, I will inevitably carry the jade tiger seal. Xiao Qi wanted what I had, and he couldn't persuade me, so he eventually agreed. I am the sole survivor of the Yi family. From the moment I appeared at the border, I represented the morale and spirit of the Yi family. Heroes and strategists from all directions gathered to join the army. Among them the renowned Zongshan master, the first strategist who had helped Xiao Qi plan the entire campaign in my previous life. With all the memories of the previous war, from the moment I stepped onto the battlefield, I became Xiaojin's strategist, never missing a single move. I accurately predicted all of the Western Xiao's tactical movements, ensuring the Qi Kingdom's army emerged victorious in every battle. Even Master Zongshan praised me. You truly live up to the legacy of General Yi Wu, a woman who can match any man. I urgently needed to win a decisive battle to show everyone who had placed their hopes in the Yi family that I was capable. Only then could I win their hearts. In just half a year, the Western Xia forces surrendered and withdrew. Zongshan and those heroic warriors had also retired, choosing not to get involved in court intrigues. Before parting, I went with them to the graves of the Yi family soldiers at the border to pay respects to the heroes who had fought to the death for the country. Zongshan asked me at the gravesite of the Yi family soldiers, "Why didn't you openly use the jade tiger symbol to rally the heroes this time?" Zongshan was the strategist I had personally invited with a handwritten letter. He was the mastermind behind the heroes of the world. When Zongshan moves, the heroes follow. The current court is not yet in a position for me to take charge. The imperial family is skilled at betraying allies and eliminating loyal ministers. Until I have absolute certainty, I cannot allow the heroes to repeat the mistakes of the Yi family army. I solemnly told Zongshan, "The jade tiger symbol is in my hands. But please remember, when the symbol is truly revealed to the world next time, no matter what orders the holder gives, please lead the heroes to act in the opposite way." Zongshan was a wise man. He bowed to me. "I will assist you in achieving your goal." The war ended in a great victory, and Xiaojin returned triumphantly, being appointed by Emperor Jingde as the new crown prince. Xiaojin kept his promise, and I was married to him in a grand procession, becoming the crown princess. Half a year later, Emperor Jingde fell seriously ill and was on his deathbed. I wanted to go to his bedside to demand the truth about why the Yi family army had cut off their reinforcements back then. Xiaojin held me back. "The throne is changing hands, and the court is in turmoil. Don't cause trouble for me at this critical moment." Realizing he had spoken too harshly, he quickly changed his tone. "What I meant was, His Majesty values his reputation above all else. Even on his deathbed, he would never admit to any mistakes he made while on the throne. Let me wait until I ascend the throne. My first imperial edict will be to clear the Yi family's name." Xiaojin stationed troops to guard the emperor's bedchamber, and I couldn't get anywhere near him. 3 days later, the old emperor passed away. Thanks to the momentum from the war and my background as the sole survivor of the Yi family, Xiaojin secured the throne. But his first imperial edict had nothing to do with the Yi family army. Instead, he was busy eliminating his rivals and promoting his own followers. I confronted him over this, and Xiaojin rebutted me with confidence. If the world were to learn that the Yi family army was betrayed by the imperial clan, who would still submit to the Xiao clan? If you're so eager to avenge your parents, fine. Hand over the jade tiger seal. With it, no matter how much chaos erupts, I fear nothing." I sneered. After all these years of acting, he finally couldn't resist laying it all out on the table. I felt a wave of nausea rise in my throat and turned away, vomiting. The imperial physician came to examine me and said I had a pulse indicating pregnancy. Xiaojun was delighted. With a child, I would be even more dependent on him. More importantly, the child born to the orphan of the Yi family would naturally win the people's hearts for him. Xiaojun repeatedly postponed the empress's coronation ceremony, saying it was too elaborate, and told me to focus on nurturing the fetus. Thus, I was kept in the emperor's harem without any title or status, my belly growing larger day by day. The Empress Dowager Shu, who had once treated me like a mother, now spoke only of the prince in my womb and her own royal grandson. The emperor is your sky, you should obey him and submit to him to live a decent life. Without the emperor, you would still be an orphaned girl relying on others. You should be grateful that the emperor gave you a home. Even as the descendant of a loyal and virtuous family, you need a man to rely on. Don't be too stubborn, it only hurts yourself and others. Whatever cards you have up your sleeve, you must play them all to help your husband secure the throne. Don't hold anything back. That's selfish and disregards the greater good. In the harem, it's all about the mother's status through her son. Take good care of this child. If the child is good, you will be good. If anything happens to the child, you will be guilty. Empress Dowager Shu scolded me in front of me. Looking at her face, she reminded me more and more of someone from the past. Who was it? It was Empress Zhao, the Empress Zhao whose neck I had snapped. A year later, the child was born full term, a prince. Before I could even catch a glimpse of him, Empress Dowager Shu had already taken the prince into her arms. Let me see the child. I struggled to get up, wanting to see the child. Xiaojun, dressed in imperial robes, stood in front of the swaddled infant and said to me, who was weak from childbirth, hand over the jade tiger token, and I will let you see the child. Otherwise, I will give the child to Lady Li to raise. During the year I was pregnant, Xiaojun, under the pretext of balancing the previous court, took many concubines. Lady Li was his new favorite. Your Highness is breaking your oath. I am the emperor, I am the heavens. How could I be bound by an oath made to a mere woman? Xiaojun spoke with unyielding conviction. The supreme ruler of the empire, using the child as leverage against a weak woman who had just given birth to him. At that moment, the child began to cry in Empress Shu's arms. Crying pitifully. Crying hysterically. My heart ached unbearably. And I finally relented, telling Xiaojun, the jade tiger seal is hidden in a secret compartment beneath the ancestral tablets in the ancestral hall of my Yi family's old mansion. Xiaojun was overjoyed and immediately sent men to search for it. Once the jade tiger seal is in my hands, I will naturally return the child to you. They carried the child and turned to leave. Not long after they had gone, Empress Shu said triumphantly, I told you so. Once a woman becomes a mother, she becomes the softest person in the world. You used the child to blackmail her after she gave birth, and she had no choice but to submit. Not only would she hand over the jade tiger seal, but even if you asked her to kill herself for the child, she wouldn't dare refuse. With my guidance, Xiaojun quickly found the jade tiger amulet, forged by the souls of 3 generations of the Yi family, capable of commanding the masses. I handed over the jade tiger amulet, but the prince still did not return to my side. I was confined to the Changning Palace, officially claiming to be convalescing, but in reality, it was a form of house arrest. Xiaojun had achieved his goal, and the process of cutting ties had begun. Xiaojun began implementing sweeping reforms. He used the jade tiger amulet to issue edicts stripping the feudal lords of their power, intending to consolidate all authority back into the imperial court. The feudal lords each had their own factions, and reducing their power would inevitably lead to unrest. However, with the jade tiger seal in his possession, Xiaojun believed he could suppress any rebellion. But soon, he panicked. From the moment he used the jade tiger seal to issue orders to the entire realm, unrest broke out across the country, and the people rose up in rebellion. The flames of internal conflict quickly spread to the imperial city. The jade tiger seal did not bring Shaozhen loyal generals, but instead summoned rebel forces. The rebel army besieged the palace, led by Master Songshan, and escorted me out of the Changning Palace. Shaozhen finally realized that he had fallen into my trap. Your Majesty, do you remember after the battle against the Western Xia, when I asked you if you were willing to accompany me to pay respects at the tomb of the Yi family's soldiers? At that time, Your Majesty believed that your military achievements were secure and the position of Crown Prince was within your grasp. Perhaps you were tired from pretending, so you said you didn't want to go. Therefore, you wouldn't have known. That day at the grave, I told Master Songshan that the day the Jade Tiger Talisman was revealed to the world would be the day when heroes across the land rose up in rebellion. The Jade Tiger Talisman was given to me by my parents as a talisman for protection. No one can use it to betray me or harm me. I grabbed Shaozhen's chin. Shaozhen, how dare you? Shaozhen trembled all over. We've been married for so many years. It was His Majesty who broke his oath first. On that day, you swore to me, a mere woman. Now, you deserve to die by the hands of this mere woman. I thrust my sword into Shaozhen's throat without hesitation, so swiftly that everyone present was startled. It was as if I had rehearsed the strike countless times before. Throughout history, emperors have feared loyal ministers whose achievements overshadowed their own, eager to eliminate them to prevent future threats. But who says that the descendants of loyal ministers cannot fear a suspicious royal family? Shao Qi deceived me, I will eliminate him. Shaozhen schemed against me, so I will kill him. I stared into Shaozhen's eyes, my words piercing his soul all these years. You thought you were using me, but in reality, I was using you. From the day you first appeared before me, your fate was sealed, you were destined to die by my hand. I drew my long sword. Shaozhen's eyes widened in terror, and blood spurted from his neck, splattering onto the face of Empress Dowager Shu. Empress Dowager Shu could not believe what she was seeing. She screamed shrilly and went mad on the spot. In this rebellion, the rebel forces supported only one person, the orphaned daughter of the Yi family, the descendant of loyal martyrs. At the age of 10, my entire bloodline perished for the country. 10 years later, with the support of the heroes of the land, I held the prince in my arms and, as the Empress Dowager, walked up the jade steps and sat on the dragon throne. Some in the court questioned my usurpation of the throne. The Duke of Dingen stood up to defend me. The Empress Dowager is the only survivor of the Yi family, a descendant of loyal and heroic ancestors. Anyone in this world could rebel, but the Yi family would never do such a thing. Lin, the Chancellor, debated with the scholars on my behalf. A woman of the Yi family is loyal to the emperor and loves her country. How could she plot to overthrow the throne? The late emperor died suddenly. The new emperor is still a child, and the Empress Dowager took power in times of crisis. It is both proper and reasonable. Above me, I had the protection of 3 generations of the Yi family, and below me, the bodies of the 2 former crown princes, Shaozhen and Shao Qi, served as a path for me. In my left hand, I hold the imperial seal, in my right, the jade tiger token. Before me, renowned ministers and marquises defend my cause. Behind me, the heroes of the realm stand as my backing. I merely serve as the regent empress, ruling from behind the curtain. This is already quite humble of me. 5 years later, the 5-year-old emperor suddenly rebelled, demanding I execute the former ministers who once supported me, or else he would starve himself to death in protest. Upon investigation, I discovered that the young emperor had been secretly taken to the cold palace in recent days. The mad Empress Dowager Shu in the cold palace had been instigating the young emperor daily. After all, they share blood ties. The young emperor now bears an increasingly striking resemblance to Empress Dowager Shu, and his character is entirely that of Shaojin. I brought the young emperor into the cold palace, where Empress Dowager Shu had already grown entirely white-haired over the years. When I killed the emperor, she pretended to be mad to survive. Now she has lost all her former elegance and grandeur, her madness mirroring that of Empress Zhao in her prime. The world pities my tragic fate. With all my blood relatives dead, I raised an ungrateful wretch. As the young emperor rushed toward Empress Shu, I thrust my sword through his tiny body. Empress Shu, who had been wearing a smug expression, saw this and screamed in horror. "You're mad! You're mad! That's your child! Your child! My child?" I drew my sword and coldly watched my child lie motionless on the ground, bleeding profusely. I laughed. "You once thought you could use this flesh and blood to hold me hostage. But in my eyes, this child was nothing more than a pawn I used to secure my throne. If he obeyed, I would keep him around for amusement. If he disobeyed, I would kill him with a single stroke. I gave birth to him, he dies by my hand. He has no right to complain." Empress Dowager Shu stared at me like I was a demon. She screamed in despair. "Yi Suyao, you have such a cruel heart." She lunged at me, intent on dying with me. How laughable. Does she even deserve to die with me? The moment Empress Dowager Shu made her move to kill me, the Imperial Guard swords had already pierced her flesh. I looked at her lifeless face and smiled, saying, "I owe my current position entirely to the Shao royal family. The only reason I spared Shaojin's bloodline was out of consideration for the people of Qin, who were still uneducated and unable to accept a female emperor. Now, 5 years have passed, and the people have seen how prosperous and stable the kingdom is under my regency. The time has come. I hereby proclaim to the world that the destruction of the Yi family army at Longyuan was the result of the Shao royal clan's fear of their own loyal subjects, their jealousy of talent, and their deliberate sabotage. They cut off the Yi family army's supply lines, sent men to blow up 2 snow-capped mountains at Longyuan, and fabricated an avalanche to block their retreat. In the end, the 5,000 soldiers of the Yi family army, exhausted and starving, freezing to death in Longyuan. This is how the countless heroes' graves in Longyuan came to be. The people were filled with righteous indignation, and the Shao royal clan deserved to die 1,000 times over. The hearts of the people were scattered. I became a heroic woman who slew the tyrant and restored justice. With the sincere support of my subjects, I donned the imperial crown, donned the dragon robe, and ascended the throne as empress with composure. A new chapter of history is now written by me. The Shao royal family betrayed my Yi clan, they should compensate me. The sole survivor of the Yi family, with the throne. Since this throne was secured by 3 generations of my Yi clan, it rightfully belongs to me, the loyal descendant of the Yi family. As the new empress, who dares to defy me? End of the story.